Welcome to our latest webcast, VAT 2021 and eBay Perspective. I'm Kalsuma Chowdhury and I'll be facilitating today's session. Before we begin, I'd like to make a couple of announcements. Please direct all your comments and questions to the Q&A tool, and we will try to address them at the end as time permits. This event is being recorded and we will be sending out an email notification when the recording is available to watch. That concludes today's announcements. I will now introduce our presenters. Our presenters today are Jackie van der Leege, who's the Global Head of Tax Technology at eBay, and Peter Boroff, who is our VAT Director at Vertex. I will turn it over to today's first presenter, Peter.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kalsuma, and welcome to this webinar, everybody. My name is Peter Boroff. I'm the VAT Director within Vertex. I look at international VAT trends and assess the impact of those trends on our products, inform our marketing group about it, and also discuss with our customers what the impact is. Before joining Vertex, I was the Global Head of Indirect Tax with AkzoNobel for approximately 13 and a half years. Jackie?
So, hi, I'm Jackie van der Leije. I'm the Head of Tax Technology at eBay. Our team are looking at everything tax technology for eBay, but with a main focus on innovation to get ourselves ready for the future and the ever-changing world of tax. I've been with eBay for just over 12 years now. Obviously, I'm enjoying it, and I had the opportunity to see everything there is from the SOX world to the technology world to the accounting systems world. So I'm very fortunate and still happy. Prior to eBay, I spent 10 years at PricewaterhouseCoopers. That's me.
Thanks, Jackie, and thanks for joining me in this session and sharing some of your interesting insights and experiences. Like we discussed in this session, we will cover the key legislative areas eBay are following closely right now in transaction tax and potential impacts of these developments. We will also have a look at strategic and operational changes you have made because of the current pandemic that's already going on for quite a while. Thirdly, we will look at some areas of risk and approaches you are taking to tackle or mitigate those risks. And we will have a forward look on new initiatives and innovations on the horizon. So the first question to kick off with a topic that everybody is pretty aware of by now, and that is, would you please share some thoughts on how your business was impacted by COVID-19 this past year, and what adjustments your company has made in 2020 and are planning moving forward in 2021?
Yes, I think that's a question that is on everybody's mind. And, COVID-19 impacted, I think, every single person in this world and still today. Apart from having to change and shift to work from home, our company also had to make some shifts. First of all, we are an e-commerce company, and with much more businesses moving online, that obviously was a great plus for eBay. But it was also our opportunity to really go back into the community and be part of the community. With our San Jose campuses being empty, we had our cafeterias and everything standing there. An employee actually approached management and said, "Hey, can we do something good with this?" So eBay is actually feeding homeless people from our cafeteria right now, and also sponsoring all the food and everything that's needed. And that makes that empty campus actually worth something more than just an empty building. In the UK, the NHS needed to start distributing, PPE, and they had no way to do that. So, eBay used all the engineers and in a record time had a site up and running. And I believe the latest statistics there is that about 2 billion pieces of PPE has been distributed through that tool. Finally, I think the biggest impact of COVID from a business perspective was to small businesses. And, eBay set up grants and education for sellers to actually help move those small businesses online, that they can keep the doors open, as we call it, 24/7. So that is from us as a company. Operationally, of course, having our people at home. I think that the key thing for me personally here was that this was something that every single person experienced working from home differently. So making adjustments for people on an individual basis. And I believe we've been very successful for that. And we are continuing that into 2021.
Wow, that's quite some interesting initiatives you have on your side, Jackie. And I like the food initiative and the usage that you make of your campus in that respect, and provide food to the people who are really in need. So that's absolutely fabulous. Let's go to the next question. That's about the key legislative areas that you are following. Which ones are those with respect to transaction tax?
So maybe first a little bit backwards. On the 1st of January, of course, with Brexit and the new UK VAT legislation, we are still closely following that. I mean, it just has quite an impact on our buyers and our sellers. And then, of course, our biggest one that is coming on 1st of July is the new marketplace legislation for the EU. That is, if you ask me what I'm going to do the next 6 to 8 weeks, that will be it, following that and getting ready for that. In the US, more states are launching marketplace legislation. There's 2 more coming up, and I think that leaves us with only 1 state in the US that does impose sales tax to still have to pass legislation. So that's quite a big lift. But I would say everything's focused on the marketplaces right now. There is some movement in Canada, which we will start following. That's most probably only for later in this year, but they are introducing potential. It's not been signed, but there is rumors of marketplace tax as well as the digital services taxes. And let's not forget the new changes in the VAT verification process in Germany. That's, of course, starting as of the 1st of July, I believe, where real-time VAT validation is required.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in indirect tax, and especially if you are in e-commerce, with Brexit, where these rules already have been actually weaved in for the UK. I think Captain Kirk was the first to hit the news, who actually said, I'm not going to sell to UK customers anymore. And now I believe there's still also second thoughts with a lot of EU vendors selling into the UK. And of course, I'm EU biased because I'm in the EU in the Netherlands and not in the UK, but it's vice versa. It's the same for UK vendors having to sell to the EU. There's a lot of hurdles and that kicked in. So I can imagine that it will take you occupied for quite a while to have that all sorted out, and also with the marketplace liability kicking in as well. So it's not only your vendors, but also your own business. If you look at terms of risk, are there any specific areas you are focusing on, looking to de-risk or automate?
So I think that's my team's most exciting part in life is the innovation and the automation. That is what we pride ourselves on. So our first, of course, focus for this year is with EU launching is our tax categorization. This is, pretty key, seeing all the changes happening in the marketplace. So we have actually partnered with Vertex to actually use artificial intelligence to enable us to determine that tax category at the time of listing. We have launched this in the US and the UK, but with the EU coming up, we are dealing with a lot of languages. So that makes it, of course, a different aspect. And I think the most important thing for us here is that we need to do right by our sellers and our buyers by getting this right. We cannot use Google Translate to determine the French being used on the French site. We want to make sure that we are applying every local site in terms of their language use and how it's being used. So that's something that my team is actively working on and will launch on July 1st. And that is definitely something that we see is a base for the future as we see more things changing in terms of rules and regulations. That's, of course, a big innovation part. From an automation perspective, we are seeing more and more scrutiny from tax authorities. In the US especially, we're seeing it picking up, and we think it's going to pick up more even in other countries. So the ability to make audits cheaper and faster, making sure that we have all our reconciliations automated, making sure that we have a database with all the data to allow an auditor to come in, and actually we can provide that data easily and at a very fast pace to ensure that that audit can be conducted to the right point. So that automation of all these aspects. And, let's also think about it for a second. The more rules are, the more work it entails. And you have to ask yourself, how big of a tax department do you want? So it's more a matter of how can we keep what we have and still deliver what is required from us, from the tax authorities.
So there's quite a lot that you need to monitor, and I will follow your tax cap project quite close, and especially tackling European language issues, because I think that's quite an interesting development to see how you apply AI to determine the taxability of products in Greek and French and Italian and German and Polish. That's definitely an interesting challenge. So I can appreciate that you already launched in the US and the UK. It's a similar language, but.
So I believe we're ready with German, and I believe there's 2 more sites. We are launching on July 1st.
That's an interesting development, Jackie. That's a big jurisdiction, so I can understand that. And then you can easily move to the Netherlands because those languages are somehow comparable. So I'm looking forward to that. Questions from the audience as well, Jackie. Let me have a look. Yeah, we discussed the VAT rules, the upcoming VAT rules for e-commerce in the EU. What do you see as the biggest challenge of these new rules, either for eBay or for your sellers on the platform?
So from a tax technology perspective, our biggest challenge, or that we're seeing, is that these rule changes are just the beginning of many rule changes. This is not a once-off and then we're there. So whatever we build or whatever we do, we have to build it in such a way that it's agile, and that whatever comes in future, that we can respond quickly to those changes. We have seen tax authorities imposing much more and asking for shorter timelines to actually get these implemented. So while right now I have a set of rules and I'm building it, and it's complicated and we want to do it right, we need to do it right for the future. Ultimately, a buyer needs to be able to come to the platform and pay the accurate price, meaning including the tax portion. And our seller needs to be able to keep their competitive edge by, having the right taxes applied to their transaction. And we as a company need to make sure that we are able to bring that to our buyers and our sellers. And of course, we also want to be compliant to our tax authorities. And, my opinion is that the EU rules came out with a threshold, and there's going to be more and more coming out. And, right now it's just focused on imports. So eventually it might change to more of a US model, and we have to be ready for that. And that is actually, for me, from my perspective, the biggest challenge.
Interesting that you see even more rules coming out after this, then apparently first step. Many people probably are hoping that this will be it. But you're already pre-warning the community that there might be more to come. So let's keep an eye on that. But it's definitely challenging, absolutely. Let's have a look at the questions. There's another one. We discussed de-risking and automation. What are your expectations on digital real-time reporting for VAT and invoice clearance? Will this become the global standard, or do you see that it will stall?
I actually do think it's heading that direction of a global standard. The reason why is, as I just mentioned, there's more and more scrutiny. Authorities want to make sure that they are collecting what they're supposed to be collecting, and the only way for them to do that is by bringing in these kind of controls. Now, even though I expect that to become the global standard, I do think that is part of the challenges that I just mentioned, right? Is every authority going to do it the same way? Is everybody going to have different ways? We're already seeing that in some countries. So it might be a global standard to provide that, but I think the how-to is something that that might still bring quite some challenges to us anyway as a marketplace because of the different integrations.
Yeah, so the concept you expect will be standard, but the actual deployment will be quite different per country.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's an expensive way of operating, of course, for business. As an extension to that, and there's another question about blockchain. Many people are talking about blockchain. Do you foresee a blockchain for VAT?
So I do think that's the way we're going to. I mean, if we sit back for a second and we just look at, what blockchain is in its simplest form, it's a secure database, very secure because of the way that they structure it. It's not table database as we know it. Apologies. So from my perspective, if we are going to start sharing more and more data with our tax authorities, that has to be done in a much more secure way. It's already secure, but how do we, get to that level? The second thing is that with blockchain and its ability with cryptocurrency, as the world moves more towards that can be an option for authorities to start accepting that. With that being said, I think we are very far from that point. This will require actually a lot of insight and input from many sides and many areas. So until we are at the point that we will have blockchain that's being accepted by tax authorities, I do believe that that's a way out. But I do think it's the future. And if there is any investment being made to setting up such databases, etc., within companies, then blockchain should definitely be one of the options that they should be considering.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I'm curious to see how fast this will go, because this Bitcoin discussion is all over the place now. You see some blockchain initiatives in customs, but that's about what I see from blockchain. But I'm not a blockchain expert. I'm a VAT person, so that's why I related to VAT. But I understand that there's a lot of mechanisms that need to be connected in order for this to work. So let's see if we can still see this happening. It's interesting. Let's have a look. I don't see any other questions coming up, Jackie. So I would like to thank you for your time and your interesting insights and a quick look into the future of where VAT and technology is heading. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thanks. Let's hope we can discuss this again. I would like to move over to Kulsuma again.
Thank you, Peter and Jackie, and thank you all for attending. This concludes today's webcast presentation. Any questions we did not answer have been collected and will be followed up via email. On behalf of our presenters and Vertex, I want to thank you all for your participation today. Don't forget to register for our upcoming webcast on tax transformation from global template to go live. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. We hope to see you again soon.